Hello and welcome to Transformation 303, Art, Transformation, and You. This is the third workshop in Transformation Series 3, which actually has developed into a perspective, focus on creativity. And today it will be the same. Well, what does that have to do with me, you ask? Well, let me explain. If you're a woman who struggles at all with overwhelm, maybe occasionally or consistently, or maybe you're a woman who's come to understand or has come to feel minimized, marginalized, and undervalued in all you do. And maybe along the way, you've come to be aware that in that process, you're losing track of the woman that you are. And you are determined, you've decided, your aim is to reclaim her. If that's you, come on in, you're absolutely in the right place. Now, I don't know how you might have gotten here and not know who I am, but let me introduce myself in case. I'm Sandra Allen Lovelace, and I too have been in those places that I just described. As a matter of fact, I lived a very large part of my long life in those places, but I'm not there anymore. I am on this transformation from wallflower to being the freedom walker that God intends me to be. And I'm not the only one. Other women who are following my material and are part of my clients, some of my clients, then they too are experiencing the same transformation journey. And I'm really excited. So hang in there. This is about art today. But before we jump right into that topic, I want to give a little perspective. I want to offer a little view on art, especially art if you're a Christian in relationship there, because there was a season, you may not realize, but there was a season when Christians were not supposed to have anything to do with art. According to the church, true Christians were apart from art. The artists were over here, and true believers, were over here. Never the twain shall meet. Now, if you didn't know that, let me just tell you, it was severe enough in the church, across the church. It was severe enough that Francis Schaeffer, a noted theologian from the last century, actually wrote a book about the problem, about the dilemma, about the, I guess he would say, misunderstanding. The title of the book is Art and the Bible. And it was published in 1973. Now, I know that number starts with a 19, and it might feel like it's really old to a lot of you, but that's a little less than 50 years. And it's really modern history to me. Imagine it. In 1973, Dr. Schaeffer wrote a book to clarify what the Bible has to say, how the Bible supports art, the arts. And he had a lot of scripture to back that up. Another thing I want to bring up here at the beginning is I want to talk about what we mean when we're talking about art. To define it just a little bit. Some of you may think of art classes that you had in school, or the fine arts, where you go to a museum or a gallery and there are all these beautiful paintings or sculptures or whatever is your favorite. Cost a lot of money, and it's done by really famous people. And yes, that's art. It is art. But it's not the only description. That's not all of art. Art is a bigger subject than that. For example, the art that we choose to do, less, definitely not famous, definitely not to be hung in a museum. However, we might express that. That is still art. Maybe arts and crafts. Maybe doodling on a paper. I have a friend that's a watercolorist, and she does beautiful work, though it's not in a museum. Or maybe it's the way you decorate your house, that you really work to express yourself so that it's a sanctuary for you and to welcome your guests into that same environment. Let's call that art. All right. Now I look at my little list. I don't want to leave anything out. Oh, yes. And food can be art as well. That's one of the ways that I express my creativity is with food. And last time we were together, I talked about music, and really music is included in the arts, though I pulled it out last week for a separate topic. In a very real sense, art is any expression of God's creativity. We might call it the creative arts to get that wider perspective. Let's keep that in mind now as we go forward, because I want to talk to you now about art as a valuable aspect of the transformation journey. It is definitely definitely plays a valuable role in this transformation process. Yeah, in two specific ways. The first one is that creativity is a marker, and you could also say it's a measure of the transformation journey, of the journey that you're on. You can really measure it, take note that it's happening by creativity. Oh, how is that? Well, we live in a fallen world, and we are impacted, we're influenced by all kinds of things around us. A lot of them uncomfortable, unpleasant, painful, and harmful. And those things, we decide we don't want to deal with them. And I'm not going to go into the exact physical reason why that happens. It actually happens, but we don't want that stuff in our, in our functioning life. And so we press it down and press it down. And that can last for a long time. It can sit there for a long time and be pushed deeper the larger those impacts are. Yes, it allows us to continue to function, but the problem is that as much as we press all those negative things down, we're also pressing down the positive aspects of our life. So the joy and the peace, spontaneity, creativity. Now look, once we get on the transformation journey and we start to look at some of those things, we learn about ourselves. Oh, this is really an issue. We need to, that's a challenge for me. I wonder why. And we start to investigate these things and confront those challenges. And sometimes they're as simple as changing a basic mindset. Some we need to build new habits for. As that process goes forward, and the levels rise of the negative stuff coming out that's released, also all those other positive things are released, including creativity. And so if you've had that urge already to be creative, just so you know, that's a marker that you're definitely on the transformation path and you're making progress. And then maybe you really feel an urge, and then you get to be intentional and it develops. You can say, wow, I've done this without even planning it. Now that's a marker, that's a measure that you're further even along on that transformation path. So that's one way. Another way that art can be helpful to us is that it's a support. It can be a support or a strategy for the transformation journey, not just a measure or marker of the transformation journey, but we can actually use art as a support and strategy for continuing on. And here's why. Agency. I could give it to you in one word, agency. Let me share what I mean by that. Agency is the sense that we have that we're able to have an influence, that we're able to affect our own life, the lives of others, even our community. And when that doesn't exist, when we feel trapped, when we feel like nothing I ever do makes things better, to the point that we really feel immobilized, that's actually a perfect environment for depression. It's dangerous and unhealthy, actually, depending on the extreme. So how do we meet that challenge? Well, the opposite is choice. It's choice. Now, God gave us choice in the garden, but we can exercise it. There's always choice. And art fills that gap. We get to choose what direction we're going to pursue in exercising our creativity. We get to choose that we're going to express it. We get to choose the time we're going to spend. There's so much choice that happens in art that gives us practice in exercising agency and feeding that person that we are, that God created us to be. I'm going to give some more examples about that a little bit later, but let me go on really to my next point. And that is, since these things are true, how do we make the most of that role that creativity plays in our lives? I mean, really, don't you want to do that? If you know that something is going to improve the quality of your life, how do you make the most of it? I just have 3 quick points here. I'll speak again about this a little bit later too. And first of all, to recognize that you carry creativity. I've heard people say, oh, I'm not creative at all. Not true. To recognize it, now I can tell you how I know that's not true, and that is because in Genesis, the scripture teaches us is that God created man in his own image. So there's the word created right there. God created. He's a creative person. He created in his image. So he's given that same creativity in different measures, in different ways, in different kinds to different people, to each of us. Yes, even if all you can do is draw a stick figure. So recognize it, accept it, and thank God for it. So that's a great beginning. Say, maybe I do have some of that. I didn't think I did. Thank you, God. Show me. So there's the second step. Welcome any urge that you have to be creative and nurture that and nurture it. Now, what do you mean exactly by that, Sandra? I'm going to give you a great illustration later. I want to give a little alert here, and that is, watch out for the critic on this one about, welcoming the urge and nurturing it, because this is a heyday. This is a field for critics, that internal voice we all carry that says, you're not good enough to do that. Oh, you spent 2 hours on that and look what it is. It's nothing but a waste of time, et cetera, et cetera. You're probably familiar with the ugly critic voice, but also be alert to the pretty critic's voice. Oh, yes. Oh, that's what you've done. Yeah, I would like to do that. I did that when I was young. Oh, I remember enjoying it so much. I'm going to go out and buy supplies and get started. And you go out immediately and spend $300 on all the supplies and come home and then realize maybe you don't have the time, or maybe you sacrifice all your time of things you need to be doing. That's the pretty critic voice that is going to spur you a little bit too far, a little bit too fast. So be cautious, but welcome and nurture. Now, lastly here, I want to say, be brave. Be brave. Be brave to explore and to enjoy the creativity that God's given you. Go ahead, enjoy being creative, however that is expressed. Now comes the illustration I've promised you. I'm going to share. Well, I'll first explain. I was in this place over a year ago, and I, for a couple of months, I kept thinking, for some reason, I just feel like I want to be creative with my hands. I don't know. I used to do art, painting and things like that when I was younger, maybe, but I don't know. And I really would like to have an activity that I do in the evening to unwind, because I tend to work. Oh man, it's too late. I need to go to bed. And I'm not developing me and practicing calming and peaceful activities. So I found an art teacher and I got started. And I said, this is what I explained that part to her. And I said, now I'm not sure what media, that's a word, it's like what kind of art, right? What media I want to use. So I'd like to do a lot of different things. And I've spent the last year exploring things. So here's the first one. This is my very first piece on my creativity adventure. She gave me a piece of paper with a circle on it. And I guess they're called a mandala. It doesn't really matter to me. This was my response. A circle, which side's up, which side's down? I don't have any idea. And she gave me a lot of different materials to work with. And I chose colored pencils because it was the thing that would be the easiest for me to control. And then I started in the middle and I did that little, I don't know what you call it, shape, symbol. And I wanted it to be perfect. I wanted it to be totally symmetrical. And it wasn't. And that was a little frustrating, but I thought, well, I have to keep going. So I did that. The whole rest of it was empty. I have to fill up that space. What am I going to do? And then I started drawing those other little shapes because I thought I'll work from the middle out. Then I realized, oh, I didn't find the perfect center. Oh no. All of these, yeah, that was the critic. All of those thoughts going on inside. And then I thought, well, I'm not just going to stick to pink and blue again. I'm going to, orange and yellow. I started to color it. Oh, they look like tulips. Okay, this is really good. But I don't think those colors match very well. Now what am I going to do? And I did that wiggly line. To fill in the space. No, I'll make it leaves so that it makes it look like flowers. I don't know. And then there was space left and I thought, I need to fill in that outside space. Oh, green, grass, that'll be good. Now, that's what went on inside me. That's what went on inside me when I did that. And this now, when I look at this, it illustrates the old Sandra. It's the first piece I did, completely constrained by the space and all those thoughts inside. And I'm going to go forward now so that you'll see what. Thank you for allowing me to face that fear. This is the second piece that I did. She gave me a sheet, this card with a circle, with a couple of them she gave me, but this is the very next one that I did. And I decided I don't need to be constrained by the circle. It doesn't have to be a circular thing. It doesn't have to be a design. That's what those mandala things do. But I can use this space however I want to use it. What do I want to? And now I was home. This is when I was back at home in my own space. And I like birds because I feel they're free. They're flying free. And so I wanted a bird. And then I thought, yep. And there are mountains. Yeah, there are mountains in my life. I want to fly above the mountains. So I'm going to put the mountains down here. And then it's a beautiful blue sky and completely different. I chose the upside and the bottom and so on. Completely, you see already, even after one meeting with my art teacher, I was recognizing this. Now, this is all looking back from a great distance away. I didn't realize this was going on at all. All right, let's see the next one now. This is another piece. I learned a lot from this. This is the Sea of Galilee in Israel. And I painted it because it was a comfortable place, a peaceful place for me. And this is where I learned something really big about myself and art. And that is, I don't like to be constrained by one media. So I'm also interested. I didn't know that at the time. I just painted the thing. But that's watercolor. And I did the water, and that feels like water. And then I did the hillside, but I didn't want it to just, green. So that's meant to look so that it's grass on the hillside and trees and vegetation, whatever. But there's a different feeling about it. So my feelings connect to my art. Well, then that wasn't good enough because I didn't want to just do watercolor everywhere. So I'm a mixed media kind of person, evidently. And the right-hand side at the bottom, those are oil pastels that I call crayons. And that is a different side of the water. I added greenery in there. There was wind that day and it's washing up on the beach. Those are, I'll put my little arrow, those are itty bitty stones and shells. I brought home a whole bag of shells from the shores of the Sea of Galilee with me. And then this is crayons, the brown, the stone kind of stuff. Those are crayons because I wanted a different feel. I didn't want the same thing. The beachy area, that is brown watercolor. But then later, I looked at it later. I didn't finish the piece all at once. I did what I just described to you when I was with my art teacher. But then I came home and I looked at it and I went, something's missing. I just need something. And these little things, these are reeds. These are reeds, and it comes from the verse that says, a bruised reed I will not break. I wanted it in there and to add another dimension, and those are done with a marker, fine point marker. And so for me, the art bespeaks these things to me. And when I did it at the time, I thought it doesn't look anything like what I remember. But now I look back and I can feel it. I'm right back there. All right, next one. Here is another thing that my art does for me. Again, mixed media. That's me sitting on a chair, and I'm going to connect back with last time we were together about music. One of the songs, which is Psalm 23 by Shane and Shane. And the chorus, when they sing through that song, when they sing through that psalm, is surely goodness, surely mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. That's the song. Right beside me all my days is the lyric from the song. And that plays in my life a lot. And I wanted to do something with art to represent it. Those are chairs in my dining room. I lined them up and sat down and took a picture. And the goodness and mercy, those are sticky notes, believe it or not. I just wrote the names on them, and they're sticky notes that when I'm sitting down, and then I have a whole series of them when I'm standing up. And those, I don't like the way I draw people, so I cut them out of paper. And I have a lady walking with two big men walking behind her. And one has a G on his back and the other has an M on his back. And that's me, that I know wherever I go, goodness and mercy are right there like my traveling companions and my guards. And so those are my 4 slides. So stop sharing. Now we can see each other again. There's the illustration. And I just want to remind you that this is not a template. You don't have to use the same kind of materials that I do or the same steps, take the same steps that I took. But after basically a lifetime of all that stuff being pushed down, be brave, welcome the creativity coming back and go and explore and enjoy. I'm still on the journey. She asked me last time I saw her if I had decided on a media yet. And there's another one that I want to explore. So I'm not there yet. And I can't say that they become my evening times, but I am learning that when I'm sitting at my art table at home, it does help me unwind. Okay, lots to learn. But whether you do visual art, whether you do the home decor idea, whether you're arts and crafts or gardening or however you choose, or maybe you're one of the music people, Every single creative expression, it builds our relationship with God, of course, with ourselves, but especially with God. And I have some verses I want to share with you today. I've already mentioned the Genesis chapter 1, verse 27 about God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female, he created them. Genesis 1:27. The creativity, we carry it because God made us, created us in his image. That's exciting to me. Second Chronicles chapter 20, verse 12 came to my mind while I was working on this. And it's about King Jehoshaphat at the time when he had made an alliance that was forbidden. And now he's the head of his nation, the nation of Israel, and 5 kings have him surrounded. And this is what he does. Oh God, will you not judge them? For we are powerless before this great multitude. Multitude, what's your multitude? What's the overwhelm coming from you? That's how I relate to this. And it's not always people. It can be anything. Nor do we know what to do. But our eyes are on you. Our eyes are on you. We don't know what to do, but our eyes are on you. Go to the Lord. Next one is Isaiah chapter 30. I love this chapter, but today I'm just talking about verses 18 to 21. And I'm reading from the NIV. That previous passage was from the NASB, but this is the New International Version. And in here, yet the Lord longs to be gracious to you. Therefore, he will rise up to show you compassion. For the Lord is a God of justice. Blessed are all who wait for him. Wait for inspiration, maybe? People, talking to us, people of Zion who live in Jerusalem and the spiritual family. You will weep no more. How gracious he will be when you cry for help. As soon as he hears, he will answer you. Although the Lord gives you the bread of adversity and water of affliction, your teachers will be hidden no more. With your own eyes, you will see them. Whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, this is the way, walk in it. The teachers will be revealed. God will show us, and we will hear his voice. So as we're doing our art, whatever variety you have in you that needs to be expressed, all that creativity, through that, we will learn God's voice and be ready to go when we hear it. And then one last one, John chapter 10, verses 27 to 30. It's the sheep one. My sheep listen to my voice, and I hear them, and they follow me, and I give them eternal life. And they will never perish, and no one will snatch them out of my hand. My Father who has given them to me is greater than all, and no one is able to snatch them out of the Father's hand. I and the Father are one. And this is the NASB 2, John 10, 27 to 30. So when we learn his voice and we hear it and we follow, then we're going to be safe. Now I've listed something here, and I know our time is a little short, but I'm going to make the time to go through it here. Really, art helps us because it's a place for us to practice how we feel on the inside, what we're checking to check. You know, a lot of times, like the pictures I just shared, oh, I really don't like this. But in reality, when I came back to it, it was really just fine. Making decisions and seeing results. Liking some, not liking others, needing to let some things go and just accept them the way they are. And they really didn't turn out so bad after all. Looking to God for inspiration, either when we're happy or when we're sad. When we bump into the critic along this way, we get to practice listening to Jesus instead of to his voice, to the critic's voice. You can see and hear yourself change and transform through art. I just find it really exciting, absolutely thrilling. All right, before we close, I have 2 gifts for you today. Get ready. The first one is this handout. You can, as usual, you can ask me for it, Sandra Allen Lovelace at gmail.com. and I will send it to you. You can ask me for the handout for Transformation 303. And the biggest gift of all is actually, we could call it an assignment if you want, or a challenge. I want you to really take a step, be brave. If you've had the urge for creativity and you haven't really taken it in hand and nurtured it, in this week, make a choice, find something and create, be creative. Let's say for an hour, pick 1 hour or less. It's up to you. I really don't want to give you a circle to function in, but during the coming weeks, set that for yourself to do something creative in your vein. Here you go. You've got to go turn to God, right? Check what's going on the inside, bring it to God, ask him for inspiration and guidance, because you'll get it and the relationship will grow. Now look, next week, we're going to be tackling Transformation 304. And it's a topic I'm not going to reveal, but it's really, it might be the most powerful of all the creativity areas. And before I go, I just would like to say, if this has been an encouragement to you, would you please write a like, comment, share, definitely share if you know other women that would come in the same way as I invited you in. And check out my other things on YouTube. You can find me on Facebook. Everything is Sandra Allen Lovelace, even sandraallenlovelace.com. And before I go, let me just point out, you can contact me there, sandraallenlovelace@gmail.com, and ask me for a clarity call. This is where we talk about where you are and where you'd like to be.